I wanted to do a video today on a topic I find so incredibly interesting, which is the language that we all universally speak, which is not English. No, it's something that I speak. It is something that you speak, whether you believe it or not. It's something that your pet dog or cat speaks. It's something that exists in everything outside your door. And it is something that you'll be picking up on all of the time. And I will give you some examples of this soon. And that universal language is frequency and how we admit a frequency, and how I'm going to couple two things together, which is my spirituality and the things that maybe to some seem unknown and unclear, and the science of what we already do know, and how those things together help cement something to be completely true for me. Scientifically speaking, the universe, the world, and everything inside of it speaks and connects through vibration and frequency. And it is honestly the most honest form of communication in the world. Because the truth is, and we know this to be true, language can mean one thing, but be saying another, and frequency just does not work in that way. The language of frequency is so powerful that I can give you a couple of examples now to show you just how powerful it is, and you may just not have thought too deeply about it. But have you ever walked into a room and you've got no preconceived idea about that room or how it is going to feel, but the moment you step into that room, you either feel overwhelmed by maybe a sadness, maybe by tension, it feels extremely awkward and tense. Or maybe it feels of this really high vibration and it almost feels like it's lifting you up. I can guarantee we've all had that experience at some point or another. And that is the language of frequency. It doesn't require our words, it is just something we innately feel. Frequency is admitted outside of human beings. And I will go on to how that has been scientifically proven in a moment. Another example that you might have experienced is, imagine if you are a cat owner or even a dog owner, that you have sat there with them. You might have been feeling some type of way, but then being in their presence, feeling the vibration of their purr, because I'm a cat owner, I begin to feel more in sync with my cat, and I begin to immediately feel calmer. And again, that is just something that is an undeniable experience, and it happens to all of us. Another one might be that you feel in a type of way, but then you go out in nature. And although I know there's many benefits to being outside in the fresh air and in nature, there is just something untangible, but you can feel it and you begin to feel more at peace. And another example, and this will be one that not necessarily everyone's experienced, but I was on TikTok and there was somebody who had this profile where they would basically record places where significant things had happened in these places, but they wasn't necessarily widely or universally known. And they would record them and you would watch them and it would ask you, what do you feel like has happened based off the feeling you are getting from watching? And there was three that I saw. One I got quite a positive feeling from. One I got an extremely overwhelming sort of darkness and sadness from. And it was just out in nature. Like it wasn't, which should, in theory, be universally very pleasant, but it wasn't. And when you go through the comments, I'm not the only person picking up on this. The comments was universally the same, and then later they would go back. They would basically tell you what had happened in that space, and everybody was right, including myself. And again, that is the language of frequency. I think another thing for me that solidified that this is not just a vague concept, but it's like proven, and then we layer that basically with what we experience, but also then what we go on to learn and know. Is I remember when I was working in a high school, the teacher was talking about how we are all stardust. We are a product of a supernova. If anybody doesn't know what that is, a supernova is basically the explosion of a star. And inside of the explosion, as well as the star, it creates enough matter that we are, and the Earth are the products of all the materials of that. And everything on Earth just so happened to be able to grow life, lots of different life forms, from the things present on Earth. So we are all of the same matter, of a different ratio, and we are basically the product of a supernova. Meaning, not only did the universe literally create us, but we are literally made up of the universe. If that does not blow your mind, I do not know what will. That made me feel so insignificant, but so important. So fundamentally microscopic in detail, but so powerful in the sense of that is our timeline and we are connected to it. Like, I just find it immense. But the thing that I wanted to go on to say is that we know we are made up of those same elements, and we know on a biology level that we are made up of atoms, and we know that now recently they've discovered that those atoms are made up of smaller micromatter, which is obvious. And even though we might not have a microscope to detect that smaller micromatter, that has to be made up of something, and then that has to be made up of something. And you can see where I'm going with this. Space is infinite in my mind, from what we know and what we also don't know. Infinite inside of us as well as outside of us, and all of those things, to what we know now scientifically speaking, those atoms are vibrating and emitting a frequency and creating up a greater entity, which is what we see as us. And we know, and again, I will go into the scientific research behind this in a moment, that we emit a frequency that is detectable and interferable with other human beings. And I can't stress enough, like, both scientifically speaking, but also through the things that we don't know, how incredibly important frequency is, and how I don't know why more people either don't want to learn about it, but also don't adhere to it in how it shows up inside of them, or in their connection with another person, or in their connection with the earth, the universe, or manifesting, or whatever it is that they want to go on to believe for themselves. So I came across a study by a guy who was talking about it, called Gary Brecker. And he was talking about how he was very logical based, very scientific based, and how he never really wholeheartedly believed in the law of attraction, but how he came across a study that suggested, as concretely as gravity has been proven, the law of constructive interference. And constructive interference has been like proven by this clinical study called the Spain scale of emotion. And it was basically where it was recorded that two people of an equal vibration, so an equal frequency, coming together at that same frequency will double the frequency. And I know you will have experienced this. If you've ever been vibing with somebody and you're on the same wavelength and you're talking about the same things and you're admitting the same emotions, and it elevates you and almost makes you fall more into that, but of a higher scale. And how it was also recorded that if there are differing frequencies, that they will just cancel each other out. And again, my experience of this personally is where I feel the interference. It almost stops me in my tracks to be able to continue to admit at the level that I'm admitting at, because that other person is not connecting with me, not on a tangible level or a level that I can fundamentally put down on paper or in words, but just something that I am feeling and picking up on. I wonder if you've had that experience. But basically, the clinical study of the Spain scale of emotion was 25,000 participants in Germany. They was placed into this Faraday's cage, and it was completely like it was devoid from any sort of frequency. So no sort of, you know, 5G, nothing like that, no sort of microwave, no sort of EFG, none of that sort of frequency was admissible in that space. And they was able to pick up on the degree of the frequency the person was emitting from inside of them, outside of them, to such a degree that it would accurately pick up on an emotion, not by like an umbrella term like happiness, but something as specific as rage, something as specific as authenticity, which actually was recorded to be the highest vibrating frequency to emit from the human body. And I found that remarkable. I actually originally thought that it would be love, but it was authenticity. So a person who is able to believe in who they are and what they project, and their belief system completely coherently, with conviction and with complete concrete belief that they are in alignment with what they believe, and they project in what they believe, and they live in how they believe. And I just find that remarkable, because I know we don't always know how we are being perceived, but when we come across, I know that I can categorically say that I'm in agreement with this. When we come across somebody who is so authentic and so refreshingly in attunement with themselves, it is a breath of fresh air. You feel it. You are in almost infected by it, but not in the way that the negative emotions or negative mindsets and negative behaviors will affect you, but in quite the opposite way. It will affect you, but in a way that it inspires you, it lifts you up, it makes you feel a spark of passion or motivation or even self discipline or even reflection or accountability, and it helps move the human race forward. So, what frequency do you right now feel like you are vibrating at, emitting at, and sending out? Do you even feel like there's an importance to frequency? I'm always up for discussion. I love a deep, intelligent conversation with people who not even necessarily just agree with me, but open up doorways in my mind. If that's you, please don't be afraid to comment and please interact. And I would love to have that connection with you and explore ideas further, whether it's in agreement or maybe it's in bringing in a new concept altogether. If you found this video interesting and you want more of it, please do subscribe, like, interact, share with friends, because that helps me and it helps me know kind of what is being received well and whether I should do more of these. So I will speak to you soon.